What if the internet was built on overpowered heroes in new worlds? Today, we count down the top 10 addictive isekai anime tearing through fandoms. Hype, laughs, dark turns, and maybe a few slimes. Let's dive in. Number 10. Onmyo Kaiten, Rebirth Verse. Meet Takeru Narihira, a high school delinquent haunted by dreams of a mysterious girl named Tsukimiya. One day, after a freak accident, he falls off a cliff and wakes up in Denji Heian-kyo, a futuristic version of ancient Kyoto where magic and technology intertwine. He soon discovers Tsukimiya is real in this world, but both of them die at the hands of a monster. Thanks to a strange time leap power, Takeru awakens again, now studying under the legendary Onmyoji Abe no Seimei to change fate. This series mixes reincarnation, time loops, and spiritual warfare. Basically, Edge of Tomorrow meets Japanese mythology. It's flashy, emotional, and a little chaotic, but in the best way. The animation studio went all in on the mystical aesthetics, blending neon-lit cityscapes with traditional yokai designs that feel both ancient and futuristic. What makes this show stand out is its commitment to Japanese folklore. You're not just getting generic fantasy monsters, you're facing off against actual spirits from Heian-era legends, reimagined for a modern audience. The fights are brutal, the stakes keep rising, and Takeru's growth from reckless delinquent to tactical warrior feels earned. If it sticks the landing, it could be the next big thing in modern isekai. The groundwork is there, the mythology is rich, and the fan base is already theorizing about every time loop twist. Keep your eyes on this one. Number 9. A Gatherer's Adventure in Isekai. Here's one for every RPG player who hoards materials instead of finishing the quest. Our protagonist is summoned to another world with a gatherer skill, and instead of saving kingdoms, he's obsessively collecting rare items, herbs, and minerals. It's surprisingly relaxing to watch. No drama, no dark plots, just grinding, crafting, and quiet world building. Think of it as a fantasy chill game brought to life. The show leans into the satisfaction of finding that one rare mushroom or unlocking a new crafting recipe. It's cozy capitalism in fantasy form. There's something genuinely therapeutic about watching someone build their life from scratch without the constant threat of war or betrayal. The side characters are charming. The village he builds feels lived in, and the animation captures the textures of nature beautifully, from dewy leaves to glowing crystals hidden in caves. Sure, the stakes are basically non-existent, and there's no epic final boss waiting at the end. But sometimes that's the appeal. It's an anime you can binge when you're tired of overpowered egos and just want something cozy with a touch of adventure. Perfect for a lazy Sunday afternoon or when you need to unwind after a stressful week. Number 8. Zenshu. If you came expecting another sword-swinging hero, think again. Zenshu takes isekai and flips it upside down. It follows Natsuko, an overworked anime director who gets transported into her favorite childhood show, a place that represents her regrets, dreams, and burnout all at once. Instead of fighting monsters, she's fighting her own doubts. The show explores themes like creativity, failure, and what happens when escapism becomes your whole identity. It's emotional, weird, and poetic, more ReZero philosophy than slime comedy. The art style shifts between nostalgic retro animation and harsh modern realism, reflecting Natsuko's mental state. Some episodes feel like fever dreams, others like quiet therapy sessions. The pacing is unconventional, and the narrative doesn't hold your hand. It expects you to feel your way through it. This isn't background noise anime. Zenshu demands your attention and rewards it with moments that hit like a gut punch. It asks uncomfortable questions about why we escape into fiction and whether our dreams are worth the cost. The ending has sparked endless debates online, with fans dissecting every frame for hidden meaning. It's definitely not for everyone, but if you love anime that challenges your expectations and your feelings, Zenshu will keep you thinking long after the credits roll. It's the kind of show that changes how you see the genre. Number 7. The Red Ranger becomes an adventurer in another world. Imagine if a Power Ranger got isekai'd. That's literally this show. Togo Asagaki, also known as Kizuna Red, is battling a giant monster when he's suddenly sucked into a medieval fantasy world. Now, he's fighting dragons instead of kaiju. And yes, he still shouts his moves like a Saturday morning cartoon. The comedy is top tier. Everyone around him treats his Sentai poses and catchphrases like black magic. Wizards are confused. Knights are terrified. The local guild receptionist has no idea how to process his combat style, and somehow his mecha summon still works, which leads to absolutely insane moments when a giant robot appears in the middle of a medieval battlefield. The show nails the fish-out-of-water humor while also delivering legitimately cool fight choreography. Togo's unwavering optimism and heroic spirit make him instantly likable, even when he's completely clueless about how fantasy worlds work. The supporting cast grows on you quickly, especially the pragmatic warrior who becomes his reluctant partner. This anime doesn't take itself too seriously, and that's its biggest strength. It's a parody of both Sentai and Isekai tropes that still manages to deliver some solid action and heartfelt moments. The transformation sequences are genuinely hype, and the show knows exactly when to lean into absurdity and when to pull back for emotional beats. If you're looking for a fun ride with energy, nostalgia, and humor, this one's a blast. It's pure entertainment that celebrates what makes both genres great. Number 6. Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation, Season 3. The granddaddy of serious isekai storytelling. Mushoku Tensei follows Rudeus Greyrat, a man reborn into a magical world with all his memories from his failed previous life. Over time, we've seen him evolve from a cowardly child into a complex adult struggling with trauma and redemption. Season 3 is on the horizon, continuing his emotional and magical journey. The animation from Studio Bind remains absolutely stunning. Every spell feels weighty, every landscape breathtaking. The attention to detail in how magic systems work, how cultures differ across continents, and how trauma affects people long-term is what separates this from typical power fantasies. Rudeus isn't a perfect protagonist, and the show doesn't pretend he is. His past mistakes haunt him, his relationships are messy, and his growth is gradual and sometimes painful to watch. But that's what makes it compelling. This isn't about becoming the strongest, it's about becoming better. Expect big world building, heavier themes, and character arcs that feel uncomfortably real. The supporting cast gets their own development and agency, political conflicts have actual consequences, and the magic battles are choreographed like high-budget action films. It's not a perfect series. Some parts are controversial and slow, but no one can deny its influence. Mushoku Tensei built the blueprint for modern isekai, detailed worlds, long-term storytelling, and moral complexity that actually matters. It proved that isekai could be literature, not just escapism. Number 5. The Water Magician. Here's one of those rare isekai that chooses peace over violence. In The Water Magician, the protagonist is reincarnated into a drought-ridden world and gains control over water magic. Instead of conquering kingdoms, he focuses on reviving the land and helping people survive. The animation is breathtaking. Every drop of water looks alive. The way light refracts through ice spells, how rain falls on parched earth, the ripple effects in lakes, the studio clearly poured their soul into making water the most beautiful element in anime. The soundtrack complements this with gentle, flowing melodies that make every scene feel meditative. The story follows his journey from village to village, solving water crises and teaching people sustainable farming. It sounds simple, but watching communities transform from desperate to thriving hits differently than watching another demon king get defeated. The emotional payoffs come from seeing children play in clean rivers and farmers crying over their first successful harvest in years. The pacing is slow but rewarding, filled with moments of beauty and reflection. There are conflicts, but they're resolved through creativity and cooperation rather than violence. The main character's power isn't measured in destruction, but in creation and restoration. It's a refreshing change of pace from constant fighting and power scaling. If you've ever wanted an isekai that feels meditative instead of manic, The Water Magician delivers calm storytelling that still feels magical. It's proof that you don't need explosions to create something powerful. Number 4. That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime Rimuru Tempest, the blue blob who conquered the internet. What started as a goofy premise, a man reincarnated as a slime, turned into one of the most well-built fantasy sagas in anime. By Season 3, Rimuru isn't just surviving, he's ruling. The series balances humor, diplomacy, and epic battles in a way that keeps both casual viewers and lore nerds hooked. The political intrigue rivals actual historical dramas. The power system is detailed enough to satisfy battle shonen fans, and the slice-of-life moments in Tempest are genuinely wholesome. What sets Slime apart is how it treats its side characters. Every monster, every citizen, every ally gets development and purpose. The goblin you met in episode 3? They have goals, families, and character growth. The nation-building aspect is taken seriously, with economic systems, international relations, and cultural exchanges that feel thought out. The animation quality jumped significantly in recent seasons, with Studio 8-Bit delivering fluid action sequences and gorgeous fantasy landscapes. Rimuru's abilities are creative and varied, making fights unpredictable. And the show never loses its sense of fun. Even during serious arcs, there's always room for comedy and heartwarming friendship moments. It's smart, stylish, and occasionally over the top, but that's the fun of it. Rimuru's combination of power and compassion makes him one of anime's most likable rulers. You can't talk about modern isekai without giving this slime the throne. It's become the gold standard for what-if isekai but actually wholesome. Number 3. Saga of Tanya the Evil, Season 2 Return. When it comes to ruthless protagonists, Tanya de Gurachav reigns supreme. A cynical salaryman reincarnated as a child soldier in a magic-powered world war? Yeah, this show doesn't play around. Tanya the Evil is dark, intense, and morally twisted. But that's what makes it fascinating. You never know if you're supposed to root for Tanya or pray she never finds you. She's calculating, merciless, and driven entirely by survival and spite against the godlike being X who forced her into this world. Her military strategies are brilliant but brutal, her magical combat is explosive, and her complete lack of traditional heroism is refreshing in its honesty. The world-building draws heavily from World War I and II history, reimagined with magic as a military weapon. The aerial combat sequences are spectacularly animated, with mages dogfighting in the sky while artillery explodes below. The political maneuvering between nations feels grounded in actual wartime logic, making the conflicts hit harder. What makes Tanya fascinating is the philosophical battle underlying everything, a battle between free will and divine intervention, between rationality and faith. Tanya refuses to submit to being X, even as miracles and curses twist the war around her. It's a battle of wills that spans nations and ideologies. Fans have been begging for Season 2, and the hype just won't die. When it finally returns, expect sharper military strategy, bigger magic warfare, and that same cold-blooded brilliance that made Tanya one of the most iconic anti-heroes in isekai history. This isn't wish fulfillment. It's a war drama disguised as fantasy. Number 2. The daily life of a middle-aged online shopper in another world. Finally, an isekai for grown-ups. Kenichi Hamada, a 38-year-old man, gets transported to another world, but with a twist. He still has access to Earth's online shopping. That's right, he's basically an Amazon Prime user in a medieval fantasy world. This leads to some hilarious culture shocks. Knights losing their minds over instant noodles. Elves crying over shampoo. Dragons tasting chocolate for the first time. The first time Kenichi introduces them to a rice cooker, it's treated like witnessing divine magic. His smartphone becomes legendary. His solar charger is considered an artifact. And don't even get started on the chaos that ensues when he introduces video games. But beneath the comedy is genuine heart. Kenichi isn't trying to conquer anything. He just wants a peaceful life and maybe help some people along the way. He uses modern conveniences to solve problems in creative ways. Portable water filters for villages, first aid supplies for adventurers, even simple things like soap and toothbrushes that dramatically improve quality of life. The show also explores the loneliness of being the only person from your world, the strange guilt of having access to resources others don't, and the small joys of sharing your culture with people who genuinely appreciate it. Kenichi's maturity shows. He's not interested in harems or power fantasies, just making connections and building a comfortable life. It's funny, wholesome, and ridiculously relatable. The show's message? You don't need to slay monsters to change lives. Sometimes a rice cooker and Wi-Fi can do the trick. It's the kind of comfort isekai that sneaks up on you and makes you smile the whole way through. Perfect for viewers who've aged out of teenage power fantasies but still love the genre. Number 1. I'm the evil lord of an intergalactic empire. Now we're talking space-level chaos. The main character, Liam, reincarnates into a futuristic empire and vows to live as an evil lord. But plot twist, every selfish act he commits ends up looking noble. He builds schools, saves planets, wins wars, all by accident. Liam's backstory is surprisingly dark. He was abused in his past life and genuinely believes being evil is the path to happiness. So when he acts selfishly by modern standards, it's actually way more generous than the corrupt aristocracy around him. He hoards wealth by developing his territory's economy, which makes his people prosperous. He enslaves people by giving them jobs with fair wages and benefits. He tyrannically reforms the military by rewarding merit over nepotism. This show mixes sci-fi and isekai perfectly, with mechs, political intrigue, and comedy that absolutely slaps. The space battles are gorgeously animated, with massive fleets, beam weapons, and mobile suits that feel like a spiritual successor to classic mecha anime. The political scheming between noble houses adds layers of tension, and Liam's growing reputation as a hero despite his intentions creates endless comedic situations. Liam's arrogance is so over the top, it circles back to being lovable. His loyal retainers worship him while completely misunderstanding his motivations. His enemies fear him as a tactical genius when he's just being petty. The galaxy keeps giving him medals and honors while he's internally screaming about how his evil plans keep backfiring into heroism. The supporting cast is equally strong, from his devoted AI ship to his childhood friend turned knight, from scheming nobles to genuinely terrifying space pirates. Everyone gets their moment to shine, and the interpersonal dynamics are genuinely engaging. It's that rare blend of parody and power fantasy that just works. The show knows exactly when to take itself seriously for dramatic effect and when to lean into absurdity. The action is legitimately hype, the humor lands consistently, and Liam's character arc, learning that maybe being good isn't so bad after all, feels earned rather than forced. If Overlord and Star Wars had a sarcastic baby, it would be this anime. Bold, hilarious, and weirdly inspiring. It's no surprise this one broke the internet. It proves that isekai can expand beyond medieval fantasy into any setting and still capture what makes the genre addictive. And that's the full list of the top 10 addictive isekai anime that broke the internet. Which of these had you hooked till 3 a.m.? Drop your favorite in the comments, hit like if you love isekai chaos, subscribe for more anime breakdowns, and ring that bell, because next week's list gets even crazier.